In Hyper-V, virtual networks are essential for enabling communication between virtual machines, VMs, a host, and external networks such as LAN and Internet. These virtual networks mimic physical networks and allow virtual machines to interact with each other, the Hyper-V host, and external systems, all while maintaining isolation and security. Hyper-V uses a virtual switch to manage virtual networking. A virtual switch is a software-based network switch that connects the VMs to each other and the external network. There are three main types of virtual networks in Hyper-V: external virtual switch, internal virtual switch, and private virtual switch. An external virtual switch connects virtual machines to an external network, such as the Internet or a corporate LAN. It binds to a physical network adapter on the host, allowing VMs to access the same network as the host. This setup is ideal for scenarios where VMs need to communicate with the outside world or with other machines on the physical network. Key features include VMs being able to access the Internet, other VMs on the same physical network, and external resources. The virtual switch connects to the physical NIC on the host, enabling communication between VMs and the physical network, including the host. Common use cases include Internet access for VMs, virtual machines in the same network, and networking between Hyper-V hosts. To configure an external virtual switch, create it in Hyper-V Manager and select the physical NIC to bind it to. VMs connected to this switch will use the physical network adapter of the host for network communication. An internal virtual switch allows communication between virtual machines on the same Hyper-V host and the host itself, but does not provide access to external networks. This type of virtual network is used when you want to isolate VMs from the external network, but still allow communication between the VMs and the host. Key features include VMs being able to communicate with the host and other VMs on the same Hyper-V host, while VMs cannot communicate with external networks. This is useful for testing, isolated environments, or when you need to ensure VMs only interact with the host and other VMs. Common use cases include private networks for VMs and non-internet-facing applications. To configure an internal virtual switch, create it in Hyper-V Manager that binds to the host virtual network adapter. The VMs can now communicate with each other and the host, but will be isolated from the physical network. A private virtual switch allows virtual machines to communicate only with each other on the same host. There is no communication between the VMs and the host, nor with any external networks. This is the most isolated network type in Hyper-V. Key features include VMs connected to a private virtual switch being able to communicate only with each other, while they cannot communicate with the host or external networks. This is useful for scenarios where you want to create a completely isolated virtual network for testing or sandbox environments. Common use cases include isolated testing environments and creating virtual private networks. To configure a private virtual switch, create it in Hyper-V Manager, which will isolate the VMs from the host and external networks. VMs connected to the switch can only communicate with each other. To create a virtual switch in Hyper-V Manager, open Hyper-V Manager, click on Virtual Switch Manager, choose the type of virtual switch from the available options, and for an external switch, select the physical NIC on the host to bind to the virtual switch. Set the desired network adapter and click Apply. For internal or private switches, there is no physical NIC selection. You can simply create the switch. After creating the virtual switch, you can go to the VM settings and assign it to the desired virtual switch. VM will then have network connectivity as defined by the switch type. You can also use PowerShell to create virtual switches. For creating an external virtual switch, use the command new VMS switch, name external switch, net adapter name Ethernet, allow management OS true. For creating an internal virtual switch, use new VMS switch, name internal switch, switch type internal. For creating a private virtual switch, use new VM switch, name private switch type private. Each virtual machine in Hyper-V can be connected to a virtual network through a virtual network adapter. Hyper-V provides different types of virtual network adapters, depending on the VM's needs. A standard network adapter works with both legacy and modern VMs. and is supported for both internal and external virtual switches. A synthetic network adapter uses Hyper-V integration services for high-performance communication, providing better throughput and lower latency compared to legacy network adapters, and is only supported in newer VMs with integration components installed. A legacy network adapter is used for older VMs, or when integration services are not installed and may be necessary for specific legacy operating systems that do not support synthetic adapters. A team network adapter allows the VM to connect to a network adapter team, combining multiple physical NICs into one logical NIC for redundancy and increased bandwidth. In terms of network isolation and security, Hyper-V allows you to configure VLAN tags on virtual switches, enabling VMs to participate in virtual LANs for network segmentation and security. Using different types of virtual switches, you can achieve the isolation necessary for various use cases, such as sandbox testing and isolated production environments. Hyper-V also integrates with network security policies and can support network security groups, firewall rules, and quality of service policies for VM to VM or VM to host communications. When performing live migration of VMs between hosts, Hyper-V maintains virtual network connectivity by ensuring the VM's virtual network adapters are reconnected to the appropriate network on the target host. In summary, Hyper-V provides flexible virtual networking capabilities that allow administrators to configure isolated external or internal networks to meet the needs of their virtualized environment. Virtual switches are at the heart of Hyper-V's networking architecture, providing options for network isolation, performance, and security. Understanding how to configure these virtual networks properly ensures effective communication between VMs, the host, and external resources in any virtualized environment,